Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the More Money Show comes in. If you're ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to this episode of More Money. Today we have Lainie Hodges back. Hi, Lainie.
Hi again. Thanks for having me back. Excited to be here.
Of course, I'm excited to talk to you. And I wanted Lainie to share her story of taking the Change Your Money Story Challenge because she manifested $6,000 during the week-long challenge, as well as been able to take what she learned and continue to add it to her life on a daily basis. And if you listened to before, you know, Lainie is stepping into her future self, and she was able to make even more tweaks and continue to step into abundance and her future self. So welcome back again.
Thank you.
Yes, glad you're here. So remind us what awesome things you do in the world.
So I am a human development specialist and teaching artist, and I use the power of performance and improvisation to create environments where people can grow and develop. And I work with a lot of schools, students, administrators, teachers, as well as with athletes and with public agencies as well.
Cool. So tell us about what you manifested during the 5 days of the challenge.
I manifested and had a tracker, one, to keep track of everything this time of what I was manifesting.
And key, right? It makes a difference.
It is key. It's a reminder, and it helps you to just, that tally keeps you in the energy of abundance and of attracting that in. So I manifested some new dog sitting clients that paid at a higher rate than my typical ones, which now I've actually just moved up to that rate period and I don't accept my lower rate anymore. And I'm very good at manifesting meals and cocktails. I did it again this weekend. I didn't pay for anything going out Saturday and Sunday. So I manifested some of that. And what else did I manifest? I manifested my $2,000+ that it was in an account that I had completely forgotten about, an account from a previous job that I had. And when we were doing the challenge, I discovered that there had been a problem with my car insurance when I changed companies and submitted some paperwork that my agent asked me to submit. And I never heard back that, anything had gone wrong. And then I realized I didn't have insurance during the challenge. Being in the challenge, I realized that having any fear about how am I going to pay for this insurance coming up, because my premium shot way up because it had been past a certain amount of time where they were treating me now as a new driver, and did not honor me as having driven before at all. So the premiums were crazy. And I had a moment of panic and fear and then just realized that's not going to serve me. So I just tuned into my abundant self and just repeated the mantras of money finds me, money finds me. There's money in unexpected places. And I just trusted that it was going to show up. And I feel like I was lying in bed one night and just thought, wait a minute, what about that one account that you had from that job that you were feeding into from your paychecks? And was able to eventually log in and see that it hadn't moved since I had left the job. And it was the perfect amount of money plus some to cover what I needed it to cover to pay out my insurance for the next 6 months. So cash that in to a very small penalty. And all of a sudden there was this, over $2,000 of unexpected money.
Right. That you had had not remembered was there. Yeah. It's amazing. So often the money that we're looking for is already there. We're just, again, we're not seeing it. We don't see it because we're in that place. And you probably wouldn't have seen it if you'd stayed in that place of fear.
Absolutely. I would have been too focused on the fear
Mm-hmm.
than for that creative idea to come up, or just even that memory of like, oh, you have this money. I think I would have been chasing money instead of like, oh, what business can I approach to get another workshop going? Or, how can I get more money by working? But working in your program really taught me it can show up in so many unexpected ways. And you have to be in the space to receive that, or it's not going to come. So I just trusted in that. And this turnaround was less than 24 hours.
That's amazing. I love it. So good. And I wanted to also hit on the dog sitting client as well. Like somebody because I wanted to highlight that. Because again, it's somebody might be able to say, and you get to choose whatever you believe, but you wouldn't have seen the money. We're both in agreement with that, like that you did. But then also, because you're focused, because you're turning your focus on abundance and looking for money and putting your focus there and tracking it, someone shows up out of the blue and is giving you more money than you normally get, right?
Yes, absolutely. At a higher rate, in a more beautiful home. And that also allows me to continually tap into that. If I'm staying in, a multi-million-dollar home, particularly for me, I love really classic, older homes that are redone beautifully. And I keep manifesting these homes that have, they're 100 years old or so, but they have brand new, custom, gorgeous kitchens with marble countertops. And, the clients are telling me, well, drink whatever wine you want to drink and have your friends over. And so we all get to play in that too. So more of that has been showing up for me. And I got a new client that week. And one of my current clients, who's always been one of my highest paying clients, also messaged me that week, asking me for two spans of dates that were months out, and if I could dog sit for them. I was like, absolutely, I can. And I was in the place this time with this challenge where I just expected these things to happen this time, rather than fearing like, is it going to happen? Is it not? My energy was like, of course it's going to happen. And this is the game of how's it going to happen? How's it going to show up? And that's where that tracking was so important and continues to be. I realized I still have the tracker and put stuff in there. And I realized a couple weeks ago, I hadn't been writing anything down in there. And I've gotten better at consistently doing that and continuing to track and monitor, what's coming in. So since we started that challenge this summer, I'm probably at I just got a $10,000 contract in the last month. So I'm probably around $20,000 manifested.
That's amazing. Since this summer.
Yes.
Awesome. So if you can hear the drilling in the back, just ignore that. That's about life on the road and all the fun and just rolling with it.
Yes.
I love that. And the tracking is so important because it keeps your focus there. It keeps you paying attention, right? And I think, and I want to highlight, in case you missed Lainie's previous interview, definitely go back and check it out. She has done the workshop. She knows what it's like to step into her future self. So she really already bridged that gap from lack to abundance, because I think if you've done things similar to this before and haven't had this good of results, right? Prior to doing the workshop?
Correct. Yes. And I still have, I don't think there are days anymore where I'm in a lack or a scarcity mentality, but there are moments when I am. And through the workshop that I did with you and continuing to reinforce that through the money story challenge this summer, and reading your blog posts and reading and rereading your book, or your books, that continues to help me, one, recognize when I'm in a lack or a scarcity mentality or dealing in fear, and switching that to one of abundance and joy and gratitude and love instead. So I very rarely stay in the negative energies for long periods of time anymore, where they used to just, take me over. So it still happens, but the more I consistently work on this, and it's continually rewiring my brain and becoming just more automatic, the less time I'm spending in the energies that I don't want, and recognizing when I'm not, and being able to then switch that fairly quickly.
Super powerful. And
Mm-hmm.
get stronger with every $20,000 that shows up, right?
Sure, absolutely.
That always, and that's the process, right? It starts little and then it just gains and gains. And when you pay
Mm-hmm.
attention and you notice, oh, I have this, my business is much further along than it was a year or 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My bank account is this much bigger. Like when you constantly pay attention to those and keep your focus on that, it just
Yes,
continues to grow. I love it.
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So what would you say were some of the biggest takeaways that you had from the Change Your Money Story Challenge?
Being really intentional with my words when I speak or write them. There was an exercise that we did, or maybe it was just continually through the week, where you pointed out where we were explaining, I guess, our abundance. Like, oh, I got a new dog sitting client because, and you very clearly just said, you got a new dog sitting client, and excitement about that. You don't have to explain what it is or why it came about, because that you are that person. And so that ties into me, like, the expectation that, yeah, money finds me. So yeah, of course I got a new dog sitting client, and they have a $3 million house. Do you want to come over?
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I love that example, because you could even hear the difference in your energy. Like, of course I have a client. Like it's continually stepping into your future self and bringing that abundance. I mean, your future self is abundance, but
Mm-hmm.
having that abundance mindset supports your future self, and your future self supports your abundance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a feedback loop.
Yes. Which is awesome. Any of the other, because I know there was a couple things that really stuck out about, and explaining was a big one. Anything else you remember?
I remember you're just always, if you don't like the story that you're telling or the story that you're writing, then just write a different story or tell a different story, and being really careful and mindful of what energy you're radiating or what you're putting out there, which for me can be challenging at times. And I've noticed the shift in the way that I share on, say, like social media, because I do the work that I do, and tied into that is a lot of social justice work and equity, and looking at the challenges of, say, policing in our society and racism, and all those things. Those are very important to me and tie into the work that I do. And there's a way to talk about those things that is not necessarily sharing the negative energy, and continuing to let that grow. But also being aware of, like, are the words that I'm saying and the story that I'm telling, is it what I want to be creating and putting out there? And I know I've gotten a lot of, appreciation and feedback from people of, like, oh, you tell it like it is, you just put it out there. And I definitely do. And I would say since the workshop, and then also from the challenge this summer, I've just been much more mindful of what is it that I want to share, want to spread in my message on a daily basis. So, and it's funny, I've noticed, particularly in the last maybe year or so, if I write a negative status update or something that leans towards negative, it tends to not get any likes. And I'm the type of person that, like, if a post of mine isn't getting likes or engaged with, I'll tend to delete it. And so those, I've just been like, that's interesting. My gut kind of told me, like, this could be spreading negative energy. And then the universe is showing me, like, hey, like, people aren't engaging with this. So in those instances, like, I take it down, because it's not really the story I want to be telling.
I love that. I love how you've been able to translate it. When we talk about money, I always say this, and I'd love to hear your feedback on it too, because I always say, when you change your money story, everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
and it impacts everything. So it impacts the way we show up in what we believe in, and how we show up, and how we want to change the world, and how we show up in our business.
Mm-hmm.
What would you call your former money story prior to workshop, prior to the challenge, if you had to title it?
What's coming to mind is scarcity and lack.
Yeah.
And that's not just related to money in my life. That scarcity and lack showed up in a lot of places, personal relationships, romantic relationships, even the way, I kind of perceived my living arrangements, or what was possible for living arrangements in the city I'm in, or certainly when I lived in New York, what was possible there. And tied into that, I felt like there was almost like a guilt in doing well because other people weren't doing as well as I was. Or, here I am doing all this social justice and equity work, and if I'm making a lot of money, like, that's not fair to the people that I'm trying to help. And I've really been able to shift that into, actually, the more successful I am, the more money I have to then help other people. And that's a big reason of why I want to have money, is so that I can help more people. So that mind shift of it's okay for me to have money, it's okay for me to be abundant, has been really transformative in the past year as well.
It's amazing. What would you title your current money story?
Oh, what?
I know, right?
My current money story. Why am I making so much money?
I love it. I love it.
That's actually become one of my go-to money mantras. Especially if I'm, there've been a few times in the past couple months where contracts haven't, say, come in as quickly as I wanted or expected them to. And you can feel that nervousness and anxiety when you're thinking about that. And I've gotten really good at catching myself when I'm doing it, and then just saying, why am I making so much money? Why am I making so much money? And I also have on my board, as I look over here, I have a whiteboard over here with quotes and just notes on it. And one part says, love is the only way. And the other says, money finds me. So that's another one of my mantras as well.
I love it. And how has upgrading your money story impacted the rest of your life?
It's helped me to be in a space of joy and love and gratitude and appreciation more often, and also to kind of take some steps that maybe before I was too afraid to take. Like, for instance, even starting to look at what other living possibilities are there for me in the place that I live. Like, I love my apartment. And then I, downloaded the apartment app and just started like looking at that, like what else is possible. And part of that helped me have a lot of appreciation for my current apartment, because my current apartment is great. I just would love a little balcony, but seeing like what else is possible there. And actually, I haven't even had a chance to tell you this, but I am now actually working towards, hold on to your seat, Cassie, buying something.
Wow. That's amazing.
Because I finally realized, and it's funny to me that it took me this long to grasp this. My future self is able to live wherever I want. And the way I'd like that to look is by having a place here in Denver where I live that is mine, so that I can rent it out when I go live in New Orleans for 6 months, when I want to spend the summer in New York. If I'm renting here, and I want to go live somewhere else, I have to give up my apartment pretty much. So my future self has to own her place in order to make this happen. So I'm working towards that being the next step for me. And there's even a possibility I could buy the place that I'm in right now. So lots of opportunities on the table, but I don't think without working with you and in the Change Your Money story and in the workshop that I would have gotten to that place. Because we've talked about this a lot. If I'm so anti-buy, I've been renting for years and years and years. I like the freedom of it, but it's funny how I actually have shifted to my real freedom lies in owning.
That's such an interesting shift. And I find it a lot. It's like what we attach to freedom or whatever it is that we want, once we grow into our future selves and start down that path, it just shifts right around. So that's awesome. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
I can see how that is more freedom, and I love it. That's exciting.
Yes,
Cool.
absolutely.
What advice would you give somebody who wants to tap into more abundance? They're like listening to you and like, yeah, I want dog sitting clients to show up. I want clients to show up. I want all that.
I have had this conversation with a few friends throughout this year and the past couple years. And I guess one thing that always strikes me is I'm much more in tune, or I'm better at hearing someone else speaking in a lack mentality or doubting themselves or doubting their ability. And so I think one of the first steps is like catching yourself when you are in that energy, and then doing the work to turn it around, whether that's like 60 seconds of, thinking about what you're grateful for, or continually like tallying your abundance and the things that come into your life, or creating money mantras for yourself, meditations, whatever it might be. My ability to turn things around, and really start harnessing the law of attraction, which I thought I was using correctly, and it just wasn't working for me for years. This is really, working with you has really simplified it so that I'm not going through 10 different books a week of like, well, what can I try today? It's like, no, let's get this clear, make it simple, and find a few things that work. I think what a lot of people do, and there's so much information out there, that we're trying like one or maybe even three different things every day. And that just, I think it's confusing energy. And what's also been really transformative through the work with you is getting clear on like, how would my future self perceive this, or how do they think, or how do they feel, and really continually taking the steps to step into who that woman is. And I do that a lot lately. I've noticed like how I'm dressing since I came back from New York. Cause when I go to New York, like that is my future self. I dress differently. I carry myself differently. And so I was really keen on that when I was there in October, and it was like, well, I'm bringing her back to Denver. So,
I love that. It looks fabulous already.
Yeah. Let me throw on some heels today when I don't normally, and let me wear a different type of outfit, or throw on some extra jewelry, or, just do some very little things that help me step into who that woman is on a daily basis. And people have been noticing. They've been making comments. And I've been getting more business. So
it always works when you step into your future self.
Absolutely.
I love it. I think this is important, and it's because I know there's somebody who's like, feels the same way. Like, I think I'm doing the law of attraction right. Like, when you say that, what were you doing? Just anything and everything? Do you remember what that looked like or felt like might be more important?
Well, a mistake, or the wrong way I was going about it, I would say, was this idea that in order to attract in what I wanted, I had to clear the old stuff first. And that's not to say that like that work doesn't have to be done, but to a certain degree. But learning that it's actually more important that you just embody your future self now, rather than like, oh, but I gotta fix this, and I gotta fix this, and this limiting belief, and kind of tallying those and clearing them, when the thing is, your limiting beliefs come up all the time. And there is a core limiting belief that I have that I can usually trace back any struggle I'm into, like, oh, there's that same limiting belief again. And rather than like, let me sit down and like do this clearing meditation or whatever resources, because I have a lot of resources from doing this work.
You have a whole bookshelf full?
Oh, I got iTunes full. I got books. yeah. Rather than being like, oh, I need to sit down and do this 40-minute meditation, it's like, oh, wait, I can recognize there's a limiting belief. Oh, that's not true. And then switch it to just a thought of abundance and stepping then into that person. So I can turn it around in like 30 seconds as opposed to, minutes or days or months or years.
Yeah.
But I really had a belief that you had to clear. It was the limiting beliefs that were holding me back. And yes, they do. And you don't have to sit there and just continually clear the limiting beliefs in order to get to another place. You can start going to another place now.
Yeah. I love that. Cool. Any other advice for somebody who wants more money, step into their future self, thinks how to use the law of attraction better?
I have read a fair amount of law of attraction books and follow, a mix of people online that work with the law of attraction. I can honestly say that in working with you and just reading your books it's provided so much simple clarity. I think you have a really unique way of explaining law of attraction and how to kind of accelerate how that's going to work for you in a very simplified way. So even I was out with an entrepreneur on Sunday, just like having some drinks and watching the game and getting some food. And he was sharing that, he had just jumped into entrepreneurship a few months ago. And so he was asking me a little bit about, how have you handled it when things seem like a little scarce on money or you're anxious about things. And I was able to very clearly say, like, I remember that space being in there a few years ago, and I'm not there anymore. I don't allow myself really to go there. If I'm there, I turn it around quickly. And said, I always say, I'm like, you should read my friend Cassie's book. Or I even gave a copy of one of your books to a friend who I noticed was speaking in a lack mentality online. And, rather than like calling that out, I was just like, oh, I felt called to give you this book. I think you should read it. And let me know what you think. So that Manifest 10K is just a great foundation for how to bring more money into your life, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a working mom, whether you are, a CEO in a company, no matter what it is. Like, you don't have to be an entrepreneur to bring more money into your life. And I think that's a belief that a lot of people have that also simply isn't true, because it can show up in so many ways.
Absolutely. I love that. And thank you for that great plug of my book and for sharing books. And I also love the way that you said that, because I think one of the questions I get a lot and other people have is like, well, if I hear somebody in my world speaking like that, what do I do? And I love the loving way that you didn't say anything about it. You were just like, hey, this feels good to give to you right now. I feel like I should give it to you. So awesome. Like, I love that you shared that example. So tell people how they can connect with you. If they're wondering, I wonder if she could help my company through improvisation or improv, anything like that. Share with us where people can connect with you and a little bit more about what you do.
Absolutely. So again, I'm a human development specialist and a teaching artist, and I use improv and performance as a way to help people grow and develop. So no matter what group, what organization, what ensemble you have. I prefer the term ensemble over team, because an ensemble is working together, whether you're really highly performing or there's some tweaks that need to be made and there's places you want to grow. No matter what place you're at, improv can be a fantastic tool to help you get to that next level. So you can reach me at LainieHodges.com, which is LainieHodges.com. You can reach me. I'm on Facebook under Lainie Hodges Development. You can reach me on Instagram, Hodge_Podge18. And my email is also Lainie@LainieHodges.com. So a number of ways to reach me. And if you're curious to know if performance and improv can help your group to elevate, please contact me and we can talk more about it. Improv has been a really fantastic tool in my own life. And that is why I like to share that joy with other people, because I have experienced the growth for myself. And so I know that it works, and then my clients get to experience that as well. And it's a lot of fun, even if it's intimidating at first. I walk everyone safely through it, and it will be one of the best times of your life. So give me a call or reach out if you're interested in learning more.
So true. Check her out, LainieHodges.com. As Lainie was kind enough to mention all of my books, you can get any of them at Amazon.com. Just search Cassie Parks, and Manifest 10,000, as well as all of the other ones on the Law of Attraction, will pop up. Thank you so much, Lainie, for joining us today and sharing your story and inspiring others just through sharing your journey and where you were and where you are now.
Thank you. It was my pleasure and honor, and thanks for giving me a space to share.
Thank you for joining us on The More Money Show. To learn the step-by-step process to welcome more money into your life, go to manifest10k.com.